Modern life is hard, isn't it? Who amongst us hasn't wished for more time? Imagine even 10 more seconds every week. In 6 weeks, you'd have a minute. Over a year, you would have nearly 10 minutes back. It doesn't seem like a lot. If you had kids, you could treat yourself to 10 minutes in the toilet, slowly crying behind the door.
And welcome to the very first episode of the Inane Campaign Podcast, webcast, whatever you want to call it. I'm Mark Rowe, and joining me is my very good friend, Andy Gleeks.
Hello, Mark. How you doing, buddy?
All right, man. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good, thanks. Living lockdown. You know, it is what it is.
Living the lockdown dream.
Absolutely. Yeah, every day, Groundhog Day, or worse than Groundhog Day, because unlike Bill Murray, I can't figure out a way out of this. I've just got to hope the Tory government get some sort of grip on things and get us out of it.
I think you might be waiting a little while longer, to be honest, from what I've been seeing in the news. Let's just get straight into it. Let's not mess about. We want to make a difference, Andy, don't we? We want to make a change. You've already started on the politics. We think that the world needs to be a better place. And the way that I have discovered the best place to do that is change.org. And have you seen much of change.org?
Well, you know, only as much as people share on social media, and every so often a petition gets a bit of heat behind it and it kind of bubbles up and you see the numbers, and it's usually these ones that sort of rack up the numbers quite quickly. And you're like, you know, oh, okay, I'll sign it. And then beyond that, I'd never really thought about it. You know, I did obviously know that it can be a great vehicle for big ideas and big momentous shifts and things like that, and putting things in the public consciousness. But so whenever you come up with this idea, and I was like, oh, all right, you know, I'll have a look. And there's some really good stuff on there. You know, some really honourable big campaigns that you think, yeah, you know what, actually people are all right, you know.
Well, they do. There's been some big victories as well. They've achieved some good stuff on there. Like I saw one just today where they had managed to overturn parking charges in hospitals, obviously during the crisis that's going on at the moment in the NHS. Staff no longer have to pay to park. There's all of these kind of good things that are being done to try and make sure that the world is a slightly better place. However, right, and I don't want to take anything away from that. I don't want to make that the butt of any kind of joke. That's not what we're here for. Change.org clearly does a lot of good things in the world. However, it is also home to some of the most weird and wonderful and wacky campaigns that you will ever see in your life. I don't know about you, but I've been having a little look through in preparation for this, and there is just some bizarre stuff on there, some crazy, crazy petitions, some of which have got really quite a lot of support, some of which have got very little support at all. I mean, just looking through today, I found one. This was probably my favourite one. Make tub thumping an Olympic sport. Now,
I like that a lot.
If anyone's a little bit younger, then they might not know what tub thumping is, right? It's basically a song by a band called Chumbawamba from the 90s. But listen to this. This is what they put as their pledge to kind of get you to listen to it, get you to support them. It's time to internationally recognise the sport of tub thumping. Sure, it seems easy enough. You take a whiskey drink, you take a vodka drink. You take a lager drink, you take a cider drink. You sing the songs that remind you of the good times. You sing the songs that remind you of the better times. But it's more than just that. After you go through all of that, you get knocked down. And therein lies the problem. Do you stay down or do you get up again? Are you ever going to be kept down? Such a simple premise, but a complex process. I mean, the time and effort that someone has put into that campaign, it's heartfelt, I think. Don't you reckon?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, they were a one-hit wonder, and what better way to celebrate a one-hit wonder than to not make them a one-hit wonder anymore, and to make them an integral part of the Olympic Games. You know, a huge sporting tradition full of greats.
It makes sense, doesn't it, when they say that? It makes sense that that is what we should do moving forward, have drinking games as part of the Olympics. I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't look like the Olympics... Well, it's not, it doesn't look like. Let's be honest, the Olympics isn't happening this year. It's already been postponed. So maybe the only Olympic sport that can actually go ahead... Home cup thumping. There we go.
Yeah.
That could be the way forward. You talked about them being a one-hit wonder. There was another one. This person's not a one-hit wonder. Listen to this. To prosecute, this is their campaign, to prosecute singer Madonna for subliminal messaging in the song Bitch, I'm Madonna.
Go on.
Right, so somebody has actually fought for this to be a campaign. And they're taking it very seriously. I think the person actually means it. I read it as a joke, but I think they actually mean this. The singer Madonna has produced and released a video in which she includes subliminal images that can only be seen when it is watched in slow motion and stopped at the correct points. So how they found these images in the first place, I've no idea, right? But this is the good bit. In this video, she includes images that are on the FBI watch list for paedophilia. Wow. Sounds scary at this point, like she's definitely a bad person. She shows a horned red devil a few times, not just once, a few times. Images of human beings being carried as hot dogs.
Yeah, get right on that. We need to knock that right on the head.
Well, it's a clear sign, isn't it, of somebody who is worshipping the devil and paedophilia. If they're dressed as a hot dog, they're definitely a wrong 'un, right? Hang on. Oh, it gets better. She showed images of a lizard in her own mouth, of herself becoming possessed by a spirit, in brackets, presumably the horned red devil of the video. It's
good leap there.
Of course it is. It's difficult to know where to begin or where to end. So packed is this video with subliminal messaging of a wholly diabolic nature. I mean, they are serious. This is serious, right? This is somebody who is into making sure that Madonna gets prosecuted.
I mean, Madonna should be prosecuted on any number of charges, but not just for this video. I mean, on grounds of taste, long time ago, we should bang her up and lock away the key. I was about to say,
yeah, definitely do that.
Throw away the key, but yeah, if you want to doubly make sure, lock the key up too
before you lock it in a little box and throw it in a lake. I think that's what you're looking for.
That'll do. Yeah, absolutely make sure.
Did you see any of the weird ones when you were looking through?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the ones that keeps cropping up is emojis. People are really keen to be able to express themselves further with a vast palette of emojis, and they're not happy with how limited the palette of emojis is, especially on Apple phones. So I'll take you through what I read.
Okay.
However, one emoji that has still not been created, despite the large demand, wealth of applications, and lack of alternatives, is the llama emoji. The humble llama is one of the most magnificent, popular, and expressive animals around. Despite having much less useful animal emojis such as blowfish and crab, there is still no llama or alpaca emoji.
I love the use of the word useful in there. How useful would a llama emoji be?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, I think they've got a point about the blowfish. I can definitely see a use for an emoji with crabs, you know, like when a person can't put into words to a lover what they think they might have bequeathed to them, if you know what I mean.
I do know.
Do you know what, Mark? Loads of people weighed in. 740 people signed that one about llamas.
Because they thought that there needed to be a llama emoji and that was the important cause.
740 people.
That is incredible, isn't it? So was that considered a success? Did it say how many they were looking for?
think it said that they were looking for 1,000 on that one.
So it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, and the, llamas seemingly have a lot of traction on change. There was a lot for llamas. There was other efforts like poor little Thomas Johnson. He only managed to get 4 people on board his demand for a llama emoji. But he put, "I speak for the llamas who can't. They said to sign it or go to hell for being a hater."
Wow. See, people do get pretty passionate about some of this stuff. Do you think
Yeah.
Do you agree with them? Did it make you want to have a llama emoji? I don't use a huge amount. I think I use probably about 3 emojis over and over again. I'm not sure that diversity in the emoji range is top of my list of priorities, but I do understand that for some people it's more of a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I know another comedian has probably said this, and maybe I'll be treading on toes here, but I feel like we're going backwards in terms of language. You know, essentially we're devolving into hieroglyphics again, aren't we? That's what we're playing around with here, and I totally agree. You know, I'm a man of letters. I'm a man of words. I think you can say what you want to say in perfectly crafted English. I don't think you need a llama emoji to convey an emotion. And what exactly that emotion would be, I am still none the wiser, Mark.
Yeah, or what scenario that is where it's really useful. Again, we've got this useful idea to have a llama as your emoji. You're right, emojis was a big one. There was the one that I saw was to bring out a sad cowboy emoji. That's pretty specific, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in what scenario is that needed? Is that needed after a long trek on a horse, whenever you pull into a town and you realise that there's a man in that town that wants you dead? Is that what makes us you a sad cowboy emoji?
That would be a scared cowboy, wouldn't it? A terrified cowboy.
Yeah, maybe. What would make a sad cowboy? The loss of his horse, possibly.
The horse, or a particular cattle that he was very attached to.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Maybe some cows that he rustled and he got tricked on the deal, perhaps.
I don't know. Again, I'm not sure that it's 790 odd people's worth of time and effort is to bring out a sad cowboy emoji.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of good being done on change.org, Mark, and I think to rule this out, yeah, I think you're being quite mean.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm being a bit too hasty. Maybe I shouldn't jump in too quickly. Any others that you want to tell me about that you spotted?
Just more llama stuff, really. No, I did.
You searched the word llama on change.org, and this is what you come up with, and that's it.
Yeah, I do just want to run you through some of this. One person had possibly the best reason I have ever heard for using change.org, you know, an organization designed to help us create a better world. They said, "I'm tired of using a goat emoji when I want a llama emoji." But the original... Go ahead.
No, go on.
But the original poster that I found at the start, they were really going into bat for the llama. At times it was like poetry, Mark. The llama is a brave defender of sheep, a guide and carrier of mountains, and fantastical source of amusement. I mean, a llama may be able to do many things, but I don't ever remember a llama toting a mountain. I doubt a llama would be able to lug a hill.
And a fantastical source of what?
Amusement.
There you go. Well, some of it's quite poetic, do you not think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, this person ironically has a real flair for language, and yet they want a llama emoji to better convey their emotional state. You don't need a llama emoji.
They've got a real command of the English language, but there's just some things that they just can't say for themselves.
Absolutely. And now, this is where it got a bit weird. They wrote, other uses of the llama emoji could be for common phrases like save the drama for the llama.
Right.
I don't know about you, Mark, but anytime it kicks off with me, I'm always saying, save the drama for the llama.
Well, I can imagine you are. And obviously that's what I've seen you text that several times. And imagine how much time you would have saved.
If there was just one emoji?
If only. It would get to the point where we could just see the llama and we would know the whole phrase is coming out off I was going to say coming off your lips, which sounds strangely wrong.
I mean, you've been involved in the world of drama. Has anyone ever told you to save your subject for a South American pack animal?
Not yet. I imagine it's coming, though.
I mean, I know it's very early in the life cycle of a podcast to be building a kind of shared language with the listener, but I really think this should be a catchphrase. You know, save the drama for the llama.
For the llama. I can see it. I can see it. Well, episode 1, we'll launch a merch range with T-shirts with "Save the Drama for the Llama." Shall we? I think that's a good idea. Or at least we'll get you one to wear in a later episode.
Yes, I would absolutely love that.
All right, well, I was thinking, I say this like it's some kind of surprise to you. Obviously, we've talked about this. The aim then is for us to start our own campaign. We've seen what good change.org can do. We've seen also what weird and wonderful kind of petitions are out there. And we thought we would go and create our own campaigns. Now, it's worth saying at this point, although we have discussed that we're going to start a campaign, we haven't discussed what those campaigns are going to be, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a magician at the start of a trick going, no, we may have met, but we haven't set anything up, have we? There's no underhand dealing going on here. Right, so before we go ahead and launch the campaigns that we're going to run actually live on change.org, and hopefully some of the listeners to this are going to get involved in and support those campaigns, hopefully. Tell me about the ones that you decided not to run with. What did you decide against?
Now, I was going to put a petition in to release a DVD that contains all episodes of BBC's The Animals of Farthing Wood, but that had been done already, believe it or not.
Okay, good.
And I was, thinking about this for a long time, and I don't know if you are as big a fan as I am of cheese. I put the word cheese in, and then I had to wade through 120 pages of results about cheese. And I don't know about you, but I think that's absolute testament to the power and appeal of cheese. There was an entry.
It's definitely popular.
Yeah. There was an entry that said cheese. Then in the description, it said Tabasco. And there was one comment from a guy called Vipin Juj, who lived in Richmond, Virginia, that just went, everything that is said is true, and this guy needs to be stopped.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Did you sign it?
Absolutely, I signed it. I mean, to be fair, worryingly, it had already managed to accrue 7 supporters, but I just felt so esoteric and weird. It felt like I was being communicated to through, I don't know, it felt almost like dark web. It felt just kind of strange and almost like a weird language. But anyway, so I then I forgot about cheese.
Right.
And then I was sort of thinking, what else could I really get behind? What else could I think about? And I did, weirdly topically, I thought maybe the all eye test should be conducted in cars with small children in the back.
Well, yeah, but you see, that's the sort of thing that might come out of necessity rather than out of your campaign in future.
Yeah, because, as well, we all know that, the Dominic Cummings story, the internet's been rife with memes and so on. So I think given how he's gone about things and so on, and how above the law he apparently is, maybe law will start kind of emanating just from the kind of daily stuff that he does, or the madness that he spouts on national television.
Well, he does just go, like, it seems like, much like ourselves, whatever pops into his head, he just says it without any kind of filter and any kind of engaging brain before it comes out. The press conference thing was mad, wasn't it? And funnily enough, talking to keep on track a little bit, change.org immediately flooded with petitions for him to resign. There were hundreds of them, hundreds and hundreds of them.
And that's part of the problem, I think, because you almost need one person to have that one idea, whereas if there's loads of ideas, if people have the same idea, then you get like about 15, 20 petitions, and that's obviously going to divide people's attention, isn't it? Different people are going to sign different ones, and you want one petition for one thing, and you want to consolidate it. So that's one of the trickier things, I think. But I was thinking more ideas that I could possibly go with. I do like the idea that when you complete the Couch to 5K app, that you get given that amount of money.
So, who would you campaign to for that, though? Who would be like the sponsor of that?
Sport England, perhaps.
Okay.
The National Athletics Association.
I love the idea that Sport England and the National Athletics Association are now basically funding like slightly overweight, very lazy people to just get off. There's no elite sport anymore. They're now just like funding people to stop eating crisps and go for a jog.
Well, if you think public health and you think you can shut a whole nation down for public health, then you got to think that you may be willing to bankroll public health and get people off their backsides and get them out and jogging.
Yeah, mate. Well, okay, we'll allow it. But you didn't go with that. You ruled that out.
Didn't go with that. I thought the public purse has probably been hit hard enough with having to furlough people at the current time. So I thought we'd probably save some pennies if we did something else. I did also think that I want a campaign for people to stop going around salting caramel.
Right. Not a fan. I like a bit of salted caramel. I would not be signing your petition.
Well, Mark, I'm afraid that we cannot be friends if you were not to sign my petition for salting caramel. Well, let's
face it. The premise of this is that the chances of me signing your petition are pretty slim anyway, to be honest, because I want to beat you.
I know, but some things are more important, Mark, than simple bragging rights. People are salting caramel, and it just happens way too often nowadays. You know what was nice? Just normal caramel. Just burn some sugar and eat it. But now everybody wants to put some salt in with it. I mean, what's all that about?
I agree with you. It can get a little bit overbearing. My wife just had her birthday, and she got like salted caramel. It was packaged like an Easter egg, but it was salted caramel, a big bar of chocolate, and in the middle was a cut-out section for salted caramel vodka. Yeah, that was pretty gross. I'll give you that. I'll agree.
That is disgusting. That would make me vomit straight away. Well, shall I tell you a couple of the ones that I've ruled out? Shall I tell you what I've decided not to go with? Shoot.
Okay. Well, you were getting a bit political earlier. I did have one slightly political one. Do you remember a few years ago they campaigned to change the voting system for like an AV voting system rather than first past the post and all that?
Yeah, and let's face it, that would have been very sensible.
Yeah, well, I thought even better would be to replace the first past the post voting system with rock, paper, scissors.
Yes. That is the sort of thinking that is going to break the political kind of logjam in our country.
Well, I thought it would be one that would get a lot of support, but I was very, very worried about what if it actually happened and actually came into existence, because there's no telling how that's going to turn out. There could be some very, very bad political judgments made by rock, paper, scissors going, I mean, surely the Tories are always going to be rock anyway, with their like hearts of stone. And then I was a bit worried about how that would go. So decided against that anyway. Started off, I had some kind of idea about emojis, but as you say, it's absolutely everywhere anyway. So I very quickly ruled out doing anything based on emojis. I had an example like you did of one that I tried to explore but was already in existence, which was banning the word moist.
Yeah.
I quite liked I was going to think of some clever kind of explanation of why we should get it, and I read what this person had put, and it far trumped anything I could have come up with, because it just said, moist.
It is a horrible, horrible word. Onomatopoeia is words that sound like the sound, and moist is, there must be a word for a word that feels like the word. Like moist feels moist, doesn't it? Just saying it makes your skin crawl.
It is a bit grim, isn't it? It sort of you want to wash your mouth out after you've said it a little bit, don't you?
Oh.
So yeah, that was. One more I'll tell you that I decided against. Oh well, two more I'll tell you. One was yesterday. I was just having a really bad moment, and I wrote in my notes, "Ban children."
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, 23 hours a day, I love my children, but for an hour yesterday, I just would have quite happily got rid of the whole lot of them. Anyway, introduce bingo to the 10 o'clock news. I thought that would be quite fun.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
You know, because it's so depressing at the moment, isn't it? You just, after each news story, just pull out a number to keep people cheery, and then by the end of it, hopefully, you have a winner.
And what would they win, Mark?
Oh, I don't know. You could do like Ant and Dec style. They could win what the adverts during the news or something. I don't know.
That's a great idea. Just a load of random nonsense.
Yeah, well, I quite like the idea of, because, you know, if you think about news readers and their whole demeanour, I like the idea of it snapping between that of a newsreader and then suddenly being like cheery bingo caller and then going back into the serious. I just remember seeing Trevor McDonald back in the days when he read the news. And it was the day that Inspector Morse actor John Thor had passed away, sadly. Great actor. Some would say national treasure, probably, right? And Trevor McDonald came on. They had all the bong, 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 bong. And he came on and he just went, "Today, John Thor is dead." And I was just like, we need to cheer up the news a little bit. I know it's a sad occasion, but that is not the way to break the news to a nation. So,
yeah.
You know, if he'd said, "Today, John Thor is dead. He was clickety-click 66. That would be a much happier way of doing it, don't you think?
Yeah, and combining the two great kind of aspects of British culture, you know, the serious journalism on one hand, and then that kind of, you know, silly game of chance that you play in seaside towns. I know it gets played elsewhere, but for me, it's always just in a rubbish bingo hall in Skegness.
Yeah, you see, so, but I haven't gone with that, although I'm starting to regret it now. To be honest, the more we talk about it, the more I'm thinking that should have been my campaign. That should have been what I've gone with. I might have missed a trick here.
Well, you can still choose, can you?
Well, I could do, but that brings us on nicely, really. We were talking about, so we're going to launch these campaigns. After we finish recording this tonight, we will launch the campaigns, try and get some people on board and get them to support them, right? But change.org actually offer quite a lot of advice to people starting a campaign. They try and talk you through the best way to run your campaign. So what we have done already is write the pitch for our campaign. Now, I just want to tell you what change.org said about writing the pitch. They basically described it as writing a pitch for a film. They said try and get across who the main players are, or in film terms, who the characters are. They said, try and think about what the obstacles might be, and then think about kind of the end goal, what it is that you're trying to achieve and how that's going to feel if you achieve it. And you want to tell that story in your description. You want to try and get that across to the people reading about your campaign so that you can pull them in and get them on board and get them to support you. So have you gone away and written your pitch? I still don't know what the campaign is, but have you written a pitch for a campaign?
I've written a pitch.
Okay. Do you want to let me hear it?
Absolutely.
Okay, go on and shoot.
Modern life is hard, isn't it? Who amongst us hasn't wished for more time? Imagine even 10 more seconds every week. In 6 weeks, you'd have a minute. Over a year, you would have nearly 10 minutes back. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you had kids, you could treat yourself to 10 minutes in the toilet, slowly crying behind the door. Andrew Milsom, a Buckinghamshire-based estate agent, send me an email every week to update me on new properties in my area. I don't mind the weeks I get sent something through. I'll have a sneaky look at the houses that I can only dream of owning. It is the southeast of England, after all. But then they also send one every week, even when they have nothing to report. And every week, without fail, I open it to have 10 seconds of my time robbed by this cracker of an email. We attach your latest personalised bulletin. This facility should ensure that we are keeping you fully informed of newly available or price-changed homes that seem to suit your requirements as you had requested. We are sorry if the link is blank this week. That just means there have been no changes in the last few days, and we apologise for any inconvenience this may cause. I get that week after week after week. Sure, I could unsubscribe, but who has actually ever taken the time to unsubscribe from anything on the internet ever? Do you know what else could happen? Andrew Milsom could write some sort of subscript, and in the weeks that they have no houses, no new properties, nothing to tell me about, they could simply withhold the email. I mean, it's 2020. The technology is there. There are applications that allow me to stream any song ever for free. Surely Andrew Milsom cannot send out an email when he has nothing to tell me. I'm tired of being disrespected. I'm tired of having my time wasted. Yes, I could press unsubscribe. Sure, that would give me my 10 seconds a week back. But what about the weeks where I want to look at houses I can't afford? Then I will have to spend at least 5 minutes looking up their website. And that's a false economy, when the problem here is they need to take responsibility. This isn't my fault. Help me persuade these people to do the decent thing. Andrew Milsom, when houses equal zero, then emails equal zero.
Nice. Oh, that was good. So, couple of things though, just to ask you about that.
It's not a big social change I'm asking for here.
It's not. And in a way, that's quite clever, because that makes me think you're probably more likely to get some kind of victory out of this. But you've also just enlisted the help of whatever listeners we can muster to just send angry emails to your estate agent. That's really what you're telling us, is you're just getting them to complain on your behalf so you don't have to bother doing it.
This is the first stage before a violent revolution, Mark.
Against all estate agents, though, presumably, not just, and no?
First the estate agents, then the apparatus of the British government.
Okay, good. You said that with real menace. I liked it. I'm sort of quite glad that we're doing this over Zoom at the moment, not face.
Just get involved.
I also thought you missed a trick with it, right? Because you're just asking them to stop sending you the emails, where really I was expecting something along the lines of, they've got this gap in it that you said, like this week's update. If they've got nothing to tell you in there, surely they can fill that gap with something like creative or something that's going to mean something to you. I'm thinking poetry. Like, I think your estate agent should have to write you a poem every week, or, quote some other kind of literature at you, something that's going to make you feel better about having received that email. Don't stop the emails, just make the emails better.
That's a great idea. You know, have a quote about nothing.
Yeah.
Every week there needs to be a new quotation about nothingness, or the act of doing nothing, or having nothing happen to you. They should definitely play around with it. Have the quotations in a bank, and then the email can select one random quotation, and then I get something for my money. I get to ponder over the nature of life, the existential qualities of being a human being.
There you go. That's what we're looking for. I think maybe you should change it slightly, and that should be your campaign.
I will change my campaign. For you, Mark, I will change my campaign.
Thank you very much. I feel like we've already achieved something, but there's so much more that we can achieve. There's so much more that we can change and make the world a better place.
What are you doing, Mark? What's your bag?
All right, I'll hit you with my pitch, all right? It starts quite bleak, but I'm trying to, like, I took on board the advice from change.org. I want to win people over. I want to paint a picture for people.
Okay.
So stick with me, all right?
Okay.
If you go by what you see on TV, the world is a depressingly violent place. With mindless acts of aggression on just about every channel, there is real danger of glorifying and glamorizing brutal fighting to a new generation of young minds. Sports like boxing and MMA are increasingly popular and make heroes out of their gladiatorial champions. In ice hockey, football, and even rugby, we celebrate a good punch-up. And even cricket players are getting in on the action, squaring up on the pitch and brawling outside nightclubs. And that's before you get to the endless round of reality shows following the police and demonstrating how Britain's streets have degenerated into a sort of booze-fueled Royal Rumble. The sort of scenes you'd expect if Quentin Tarantino had directed West Side Story. But there is a way to make it all better. I'm not suggesting that we pretend there's no violence. Of course we can't. I'm not even convinced we should. Fisticuffs have always had their place. Who doesn't want to see John Prescott punching that protester square on the chin, or Bjork going all Bruce Lee on a passing journalist? I just think we need to frame it in a different way, which is why I suggest we draw on one of the techniques used in the most delightfully violent masterpieces of the 20th century, Adam West's Batman. I believe all TV companies have a responsibility to accompany their violence with cartoon images of onomatopoeic words showing just how brutal the action is. Picture an episode of Crime Watch when a mugger attacks a passing student accompanied by a whack and kapow. How satisfying would it be on the 10 o'clock news when a riot breaks out in Hackney with bottles being thrown and cars exploding, accompanied by smash and kaboom? Let's not pretend there is no violence. Let's just make it a little easier to stomach. We can take a leaf out of the Cape Crusaders book and make sure we always fight clean in the future.
I love it. I love it for one reason. Obviously, I'm from Northern Ireland, a country steeped in violence, and I would have loved it if I'd have tuned in on the news in the early 80s and I'd have seen, like, I don't know, a hotel get blown to smithereens by the Irish Republican Army, and it just said, kaboom.
See, I just think it would make the whole experience much less miserable, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. You know, as I say, I'm from a country where snitches go in ditches. They don't get stitches. So, you know, anything that makes it, gives it a bit of levity can only be a good thing. You've got my vote, mate.
Have I? Are you going to sign my petition?
No.
Oh. Right. Okay. So, genuinely then, we will go straight after recording this podcast and go and put these campaigns online live so that people can support them. If you want to support them, we will put the links on all of our social media. So at Inane Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to follow us, you'll be able to find the links to our campaigns, and you will find them on change.org. Come along and support those campaigns and let us know what you think of them, and crucially tell us why you are supporting them, please. Now, Andy, it did say on change.org, the next step, once you've written your campaign, is to promote it on social media. So your job over the next week. It said, just to let you know how big a task this is, it said successful campaigns have at least 12 social media posts. Okay, so that is what we're aiming for, is trying to get 12 social media posts out about the campaigns in the next week. So in the next episode of this, we'll talk about the social media and how that worked and how we got on and what kind of response we've had.
That sounds good, man. That's 2 a day. That is more or less. I mean, there's some, 2 a day is easy, isn't it? One on Facebook, one on Twitter.
I reckon. And I think, you know, not to give too much away, I think we might need to be a little bit clever about how we push it so that people just don't get fed up with seeing the same thing coming up over and over again. So that's your challenge anyway, if you're up for it. And hopefully I will get more support than you. That's what I'm hoping.
See, I'm really worried now that I've picked something that's very niche and just affects me with this tiny Buckinghamshire, you know, estate agent. You've picked something that, you know, we can all feel and emote about. But you know, the devil might be in the detail, Mark. People might also get frustrated, not by an email from Andrew Milson, but by that kind of email from some other company, so they might get on board.
They could relate to your experience wherever they are from. That might
maybe
be. Who doesn't hate an estate agent? And that is coming from an ex-estate agent. So I know very well.
I forgot about that. I forgot that he used to be an estate agent. Oh, man. I hope so many people sign my thing.
There you go. I'm sure you will get. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter. If you put in the estate agent's email address and they get like literally 4 or 5 people sign a petition against them, I'm pretty much you're going to get the change that you want. Whereas I can't see BBC 10 o'clock news suddenly sticking kapow over their violent headline story. But there you go.
One very old niche editor from from the 60s will get wheeled over, flown over to Britain, and it'll just be having to, edit these pictures of Skegness on a Friday night, or Scunthorpe on a Saturday, and he won't understand any of it, and that'll be even better.
There you go. So I think we can agree, to wrap up then, we are definitely making the world a better place just by launching these campaigns. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, if you've enjoyed listening to this, then as I said, check out the social media. Do go and follow these campaigns and support them if you can. And we will be back next week with the second episode, where we will update you on how these crazy, inane campaigns have been getting on. Andy, thank you very much for joining me.
Save the drama for a llama.
See you next week.